Hello everyone, this is Blaine Markham, Chief Trading Strategist here at the Optioneering team. Excited to be here making this video for you today, giving you my market overview and breakdown as we head into the end of this trading week. So let's go ahead and hop into what I'm seeing on the charts right here. So here we have a chart of the S&P 500 pulled up. Of course, as you've probably seen this week, we've continued to contract off of those all-time highs that we were setting actually just earlier last week. So you can see that in the chart right here. We were just making several new all-time highs just last week, and of course we have contracted off of those highs, pulling back now, actually pulling back down through this middle Keltner channel on the chart. So where do we stand? What does this mean for your trading right here? Well, overall, seeing in the chart, it still looks fairly constructive, at least speaking at the index level. There's some things under the surface, pretty narrow breadth across the market. We're starting to see certain sectors, particularly those that are consumer-facing sectors, start to get into kind of full-on correction mode. But we are still seeing at the index level things still holding up because some of those mega cap tech names, some of the heavier weighted names in the index are still, even in a narrow breadth market, still continuing to hold things up, still showing, fairly constructive trading. Still keeping this series of higher highs and higher lows over the longer and medium term still continuing on. But nonetheless, we still had a over 1% pullback yet again today. So a little uncomfortable. Of course, nobody ever likes to look at the screen and see red and see a bigger down day. So let's go ahead and break down a little bit further into the technicals what exactly I'm seeing. So we were certainly due for a bit of a pullback after that recent run up that we saw last week. On the S&P specifically, we gained a little over 200 points on the S&P 500 index in just about 4 trading days time. That's a crazy outsized move. It was certainly expected to give back some of those gains, and that's what we've seen this week. We've seen the index just pull back down to a support level here in the market. It was a prior level of resistance. So you can see, looking back to early October and mid-October before we finally broke out to those new all-time highs towards the end of last month, this was a pretty key resistance level the market continued to fail at, right around that 6750, 6700 area. That's exactly where we've traded back down to now. And as a technical analyst, we do know that prior levels of resistance do flip to levels of support. And so we're, ideally hoping to see that level of support hold right here. Or, if it does continue to break down and close meaningfully below this level of technical support on the charts, that's certainly something we'll be paying much closer attention to, as we could be in for some more corrective type trading. But looking at the charts here, we do have some encouraging things seemingly indicating that the index could be due for a bounce. There are some, in addition to just the index level support around that 6,700, 6,750 level. Also, if you look, we have our rising 50-day moving average here. Of course, we still have a nice bullish trend intact with our 50-day moving average still trading well above the 200-day. And of course, the index is above both of those. So that's very encouraging to see that. But if you look, we actually haven't touched the 50-day moving average. Again, that's our red line here since we were coming out of the April lows towards the back half of April into May. So that's actually the last time the index actually touched its 50-day moving average. It got fairly close on a couple occasions in October, but we actually haven't traded down and actually traded into that ever since earlier this year. So, that is going to be a pretty clear level of resistance at the index level. And one other thing I'll point out too is if just picture this in your mind, if you can see me drawing this trend line here on the chart, going from this low to that low to this low here, it almost lines up exactly here with where our rising 50-day moving average is as well. That clearly is a trend line that technicians will be paying attention to as well. So we have several things on the charts suggesting, that there's some pretty clear technical levels of support below this market right now that traders should really be paying attention to, because these could be, providing a level for the index just to, find some support, rally and trade higher off of those. And also, too, just looking at some of our shorter-term overbought, oversold indicators, it's also indicating that, we are approaching those short-term oversold conditions as well. So if we look down here to our 5-day RSI, so this is a very short-term RSI right here, we can see that RSI level on this chart here is now actually getting ready to drop below the level of 30. You can see that has not happened on many occasions over the past 6 to 7 months. It's really only happened meaningfully here on these 2 occasions here. Throwing out April back here, that was a whole different situation there. But you can see on these 2 occasions here, just the one from late July into August, and this one, of course, right here when we had a big sell-off in the early part of October, you can see the RSI dipped below the level of 30, did not stay there quite long before buyers swooped in, started to buy up that dip, and the market actually went on a nice run shortly thereafter. So we're approaching those short-term oversold levels now yet again. So if history's any tell with this buy the dip market that we've seen, kind of wash, rinse, repeat all of this year, we could very well be in for a nice buy the dip, setting us up for a year-end rally. But with that said, some of the technical levels on the charts, some of these key support levels that are now in view for the market, something traders should really be paying close attention to. Now, with that, I want to go ahead and pivot and talk about one of our recent trade alerts that we've sent out to our members that's been performing quite well. So this one, you probably know the stock pretty well. This is AVGO. As the ticker, it's Broadcom, one of the major players in the AI revolution, big semiconductor company here. Clearly, you can see in the chart right here, a very powerful uptrend the stock has been on this year. And most importantly, over the past 6 months, coming out of those April lows, the stock has been on a very powerful run higher. Now, this trade we've actually been in for several months now, but we've actually given our members and newer members several different opportunities to either get into this trade if they had not been following along since the inception of the trade, or if they had been, actually several opportunities to roll it over and continue to have an opportunity to compound those initial winnings. And so for this trade right here, the most recent time we actually have rolled this trade over is right here. So of course we had a big gap higher in Broadcom shares. The stock cooled off, consolidated a bit after those gains, but found some support back down here near the middle counter channel. And actually at this day right here, this trading bar, this is actually when we sent out a new alert to our members and to our newer members. So it was either a rollover or a newer opportunity to get into the trade if members had not been following along. So we rolled it over there. You can see a very short order, the stock began to rally yet again, pushing higher through much of the month of October, finished the month higher, had some really nice performance. And now yet again, the stock is actually pulling back off of its recent all-time highs, allowing for some further consolidation after the monster run the stock has been on. Now, with that said, the trade alert that was sent out to our members, it's been performing quite well. So this trade at current prices as of the close here on Thursday while I'm making this market overview video, this profit opportunity is currently sitting on a 149.5% profit opportunity in this one right here. So if members have been following along since the very initial trade on this one, that is the total profit opportunity they could have taken advantage of on this trade for Broadcom right here. And this is one that, we still feel very strong about the trend. The semis have been a strong market leader this year. We're seeing some cooling in that area right now, but overall still seeing some very good relative strength for the semis broadly, some of these major AI winners. So, this is one that we're keeping a close eye on, looking for another opportunity, particularly for our newer members here, to spot a great new trade to go ahead and roll this one over and then give some of our newer members an opportunity if they want to go ahead and follow along with the trade alert as well. Now, if you would like to go ahead and learn more about how you can start receiving these trade alerts, just like this trade I just walked you through here for AVGO for Broadcom that our members have had such a great opportunity with if they've been following along, let me go ahead and tell you how you can start receiving these trade alerts in your inbox as well. You can go ahead and give our team a call. Go ahead and dial at the number below. It's 310-647-5664. Go ahead and give our team at SMS a call. They can go ahead and give you some more information about how you can start receiving these trade alerts today. I hope you enjoyed this market overview this week. There's a lot to be paying attention to, a lot on the charts that traders need to be keeping an eye on. Of course, the government shutdown is still dragging on, not showing too many signs of progress. That's starting to become a bit more of a market story. We're still not getting a lot of those key data points either. So definitely a lot that our team is keeping an eye on. It's informing a lot of our trade decisions and, of course, a lot of the trade alerts that we're sending out to our members. So again, if you want these hand-picked trade alerts from Chuck, myself, and our team, just like that AVGO trade that I just walked through with you, go ahead and make sure to give our team a call so you can start receiving these today. Thank you so much, and see you back here next week.